Welcome back to the program. It's still the conversation here on Lagos Television. Of course, it's the Friday edition. You know how we do it on Fridays. We try as much as possible to take it nice and slow and stay around things like the family, entertainment, and things that, you know, are subtle. Monday through Friday, it is the hard news. But on Fridays, Monday to Thursday, I beg your pardon, on Fridays, we try to just mellow down and get ready for the weekend. So today, permit me to let you know that we might be going back to school. Maybe not the four walls of a classroom, but we'll be learning new things this morning. So when people say thank you, sometimes they say, why are you saying thank you? When people say, excuse me, you're wondering, hello, what are you talking about? When you hear the word etiquette, what comes to mind? It means a whole lot of things to many people. And, you know, in trying to just get ready for this program, that particular word etiquette, trust me, it is wide. And today we'll try as much as possible to cover just a few grounds that we can cover as we look at the principles of etiquette. And joining the conversation today is KG Olutunji Oladimeji. She is a certified etiquette coach. Thank you for being here, KG.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So, etiquette, let me ask you, why did you decide to become an etiquette coach before we go into the principles of etiquette?
Okay, that's about 12 years ago. I just have this stage for doing things appropriately, making people feel comfortable. Okay. And then I see that a lot of people do things wrongly and they do not see anything wrong with it, how it affects the next person. And so I just thought that there should be something like to help us act in a civilized way.
In a civilized way.
Yes, I noticed that some people have these things and some people have no clue. So there just should be a bridge. There should be something. And I stumbled on a particular. I'm very good at making research and all that. So I stumbled on this page and I'm like, oh, wow, there's something called etiquette. There's something that could actually guide us. And I discovered that it's a big deal. Right. It's a big deal. And most especially when you're talking about etiquette, abroad, across the globe, most times it's always like a particular course for the elites. And so you notice that some particular people behave in this likely manner and it's more like a code, while some people are clueless. So I decided to see how to bridge the gap, really, to see how you can help people put their best foot forward. It doesn't have to be how much you have in your purse, it doesn't have to be how much you have in your account, but the way you present yourself. Right. People find it difficult to really determine what status, where you are, where you're coming from. So I put this together and it's been awesome. Right. 12 years counting.
Right. I mean, you can have all the money, but you do not have manners. Yes. You can have all the money and you're not cultured. And you hear people say, especially in the Yoruba parlance, oh, koini. Exactly. So exactly. Let's start with the basics. And when you talk about manners, so when I started, you hear things like thank you, you hear things like excuse me, you hear things, or you meet someone and you're just barging onto the person. You can't say excuse me, or you can't apologize if you bump into someone. So when it comes to manners, what are the basics? If we start from there, what are the basic etiquette rules that we must have as individuals, or we should have, maybe not must, we should have?
Okay, I think first of all we need to really understand what etiquette means. Okay, manners are like the foundation, okay, to having etiquette. And manners are just generally our behaviors towards another person. And this could be good manners or bad manners, okay? But etiquette, I always say to people to differentiate. Etiquette is like the English rules. Like we're speaking now, you are from a different culture, though you're Yoruba and I am. I grew up in Lagos and I'm a Lagos girl. And the way it's done in Lagos is probably different from the way it's done in Ijebu or Bello-Dawodu. How much more are people from the south and everywhere. So I would say that just like we're speaking English and we understand each other properly, etiquette are etiquette is a set of rules for behaving correctly.
Okay.
I emphasize correctly. Appropriately, wherever you find yourself. So etiquette is like that traffic light that guides us human beings from crashing into one another, irrespective of your belief and your culture. Because what is polite, what is good manners in your culture may be impolite in my own culture.
Right.
So etiquette guides us. For example, some people's culture is fine to say, I just badge on someone and I say, surprise, I'm here. Some people's culture don't even come at all. But etiquette guides us that before you go to see anyone, you must call. And then to be, you must be accepted. Oh, you're coming. And then you come. And that's the way it's done. So basically, etiquette will guide us on how things should be done. Is behaving yourself a little better than necessary, than is absolutely necessary. So generally, people should learn to be cultured. Good manners includes greeting. Do you know that as simple as greeting is a problem even in the corporate world?
It is.
We work with a lot of schools because I have passion for children. And I've noticed in these 12 years, this journey is easier to mold children than to repair an adult.
Sure.
Okay? So except someone is very intentional to say that I really need to work on myself. Okay. So as simple as greeting is very important, and it's a mindset, it's an orientation. It takes you to come out of that shell to say, I want to be different, I want to be unique. Okay, talking about the principles of etiquette, you have to be considerate of other people, you have to be kind to people. I was speaking somewhere and the women were asking the question, who is supposed to greet first? Is it the person who walked in or the person who was walked in upon? And I said, look, civility, refinement, anybody can initiate the greeting. As far as I'm concerned, I walk into a place and I initiate the greeting. I've told the people that a leader has walked in, someone who can be trusted has walked in. So as simple as greeting people, saying thank you, which is very important. Yorubas, like you just mentioned, will say "Tabadupeteni, amari migba." Exactly. So when you don't say thank you, it's like you've robbed someone of the favor they've done or the little help, irrespective of what. Say thank you is not a big deal, and some people feel really big to say words. You know, we have these 7 magic words that every single person should use. Thank you. No, thank you. Like someone wants to offer you something.
You do not want it.
You don't say, no, I don't want. Oh, no. You go, thank you. No, thank you.
Okay.
Excuse me. Those are just little courtesies that would help us find our way through. Good manners open doors for us.
It does.
And little things like this count. We say that schools teach you what counts, but we teach. No, school teaches how to count, but we teach what counts. So basically,
right. So those are the basic, at least, things that you should know when it comes to etiquette. Now, sometimes you also cannot differentiate between. My colleague Joy is there. Joy, at any point in time when you're ready to come in, please let us know so that you're also part of this conversation. Before I go on, do you have a question to buttress what she said? I can continue. Okay. So sometimes some also cannot differentiate between now was it excuse me and sorry, because some say not all the time are you sorry about what has happened, but you could say excuse me. For example, if you bumped into someone, it probably is best you say excuse me rather than say sorry. But others will say, I mean, what's wrong with you saying sorry? So are there times that you get caught up in what you should actually say so that it is also not mistermed by people?
Yes, that's part of communication skills and conversation skills. You need to know these things because the terms you use determine the class you belong, actually. So, okay. The terms you use. So it's very important. What it's language. What you're saying may mean something to another person. So 2 things now. You talked about bumping into someone. If you have already bumped into someone, it's okay to say sorry about that.
All right.
But before you bump in, you should look, you should see, and then the word is excuse me. So you can go bypass each other. Exactly, make a way for me. Exactly. So, and then some people are fond of every little thing. Sorry, sorry, sorry. Sorry is not the word for most situations. Okay, and in fact, in the business setting, most times is really better You know, it positions you better to use words like, I apologize for that. If you really need to apologize, not sorry. Okay, not sorry. So it's just important for us to know where to use what. There's so many words that we also change, that we misuse.
Right.
Exactly. Example is one word that people use a lot, and you hear things like, that lady is so tush. Tush is not an appropriate word, because tush can mean something else. Check the dictionary. Tush means the backside of a woman. Tush means the trunk of an elephant.
Wow.
And it's a slang, actually.
It's a slang, right.
It's a slang. So,
and so many slangs we've also imported into our everyday language, and we just assume that they're correct words, and which in actual facts can mean something else to other people. All right, so we've talked about basic manners that you should have. So then let's also talk about eating manners, table manners. Yes, I'm sure everybody will say, while we're growing up, they always told us you should not speak while you're eating. But the question is, how many people still use the dining table today?
It's honestly very important.
So let's talk about manners at the table.
It's very important that we go back to manners at the table. And honestly, this starts from home. If you have a family, try to find, I know it can be busy, especially the way it is in Lagos and Nigeria, in fact, everywhere across the globe now. But it's very important that you have that time with the family that is, okay, today, this day, we're eating at the table. You know why? The dining manners are fast going, but they are needed.
Right.
Do you know that you will be judged by certain things as a person, like it or not? Like it or not, you'll be judged. Okay, there is how to use the cutlery. You just should know how to use the cutlery. I recently did a video that cost a lot of her. I couldn't even believe it. Some people are like, I'm learning. Some people are like, I can eat any how I want to eat. But the honest truth is, business deals are being sealed at the table these days. Luncheons and events, people are converting deals. Interviews are taking place. And you will be judged by the content of how you present yourself. And many companies want a trusted person, someone that will go out there and represent them really, really well. Your table manners, in fact, in a part of the world, lack of table manners is a sign of incomplete education, irrespective of the certifications or qualifications that you have backed yourself. So it's very important that you go back to school. I mean, go back to learn how to eat appropriately. You said something about closing. I mean, don't talk while eating. We say that to children. And it's fine to say that to children.
And then we think that it's not appropriate to say that to adults.
No, but for adults, there's something we say in our academy. There's something we say. You have gone for that business meeting. You have gone for that luncheon. You're supposed to network. So it will be weird and absurd for you to sit by the table, and because your mother has taught you, remember I said that what is polite in your culture.
And so you're not talking. So how do you seal the deal?
Face your food. So if you have networking, you go there, you mingle with people. The appropriate thing for adults will now be for you to eat. Swallow before you talk.
Okay.
Swallow before you drink, and then you move on with the conversation. And then there's a way to position your cutlery when it's time to talk. I wish I had
the set
maybe
here.
we could do this another time. Yes, there's a way to position your cutlery. There's a way to position your cutlery when you're done as well. So certain things are very important. Another thing I want to touch is, and I see a lot of people even earning all the 6 figures. At the table, you want to pick your tooth, and then you are doing this. That is not etiquette.
Right. So you don't pick your tooth at all?
You excuse yourself
and
from
then
other people.
You go and do that.
So there are little things that you need to know. And honestly, the business dining is like a 2-hour model in our school. There's a lot to learn from how to use your napkin.
You were going to okay. Maybe do you want that to land on that, or do you want? Okay. So because so that we could get that. There's a way to place your napkin.
Yes.
There's a way to hold your fork and your knife. Some people hold their fork on their right hand. Is that acceptable?
Their fork
on their right hand.
No. The appropriate thing, if you'll be using your cutlery, will be to use your knife on your right and then your fork on the left.
Right.
Okay. But etiquette does not disregard culture. And I've heard people say, oh, no, I don't eat with my left hand. So maybe you could try the American style then. The American style is where you will have your knife right at the right on your plate, and then you switch, and it's acceptable to switch hands. So at the time you need to cut, you get your knife, you cut,
and then
at the time you need to eat, you place, and then you switch your hands. So
a lot of people will say that as stressful. Okay, Joy was going to ask a question.
Okay. So I wanted to talk about the importance of non-verbal cues like body language and the tone of voice when it has to do with etiquette.
Now, our body language is very important. You know, we speak with even our body. You come into a place and your body language tells a lot about you. And this leaves an impression about you. So it's very important to know, like a little gesture. You don't point at people. Where is Adam? That's Adam. That's totally off. You use your forehand like this, you know. That's over there, coming. Things like that. Then, when you you should learn to keep your hands to yourself. It's very important. You should learn to keep your hands to yourself. It's not etiquette to touch. Okay, to touch another person. Yes,
right.
You say excuse me. That's where that plays. Excuse me, and then you keep your hands to yourself, and you ensure that when it's time for you to shake people, there's a way to shake. Actually, there's a way, and your body language tells if you're one person, if you're shaking someone, and you're a domineering person, or if your personality is weak. All of these things say a lot. So you have to really know about the body language and the gestures you use at appropriate places.
All right.
How about
Okay.
the tone of voice?
The tone of voice is very important. Honestly speaking, she's asking very vital and good questions. Your tone of voice is very important. The way you communicate, like you want to say, like that sorry we talked about now. I'm sorry. I said I'm sorry. That's not communicating that you're really sorry. So your tone, there has to be the flow and how you say it, the high and pitch, you know. So your tone is very important because when you say something and you raise your voice, the person is not even getting the message. The person is getting another message entirely. So it's very important that you modulate and you know when to speak quietly, when to speak appropriately, and there is no point. Etiquette does not agree that you shout.
Okay. We'll probably come to that. We'll take a quick break, and when we return, of course, KG is still here, and then we're taking a look at the principles of etiquette this morning. Back to the program. It's still the conversation here on Lagos Television, and this Friday we're looking at the principles of etiquette. KG is still here, and we've delved into a few of those rules or principles, as you'd like to call them. Let's now look into other basic rules or for workplace etiquette.
Okay. Well, we have two types of etiquette.
Okay.
We have the social etiquette, and then we have the business etiquette.
Okay.
So social etiquette will be the etiquette, general refinements, codes around everywhere you find yourself. Could be parties, could be someone's home you're visiting, could be your religious center, could be anywhere on the road, on the street. But there is the business etiquette, okay? And this has to do with when you're transacting business, when you're in the office. I'm sure you've heard this word before, or this term that says good manners mean good business. Exactly. And then when you're talking about social etiquette, that's where it plays out like, ladies first, the gentleman, please open the car door, leave the door open, and all of those things.
Right.
But when you're talking about the workplace etiquette, now hierarchy plays out here. Your boss is your boss, irrespective of the age.
Right.
Okay. And then there are certain ways to behave in the workplace. Okay. As simple as your ringtone has to be something, exactly the tone of your the volume, the tone, whatever choice of song or whatever you're using. You know, there was this funny ringtone somewhere where I think it was some years back. You shouldn't use something like that in the office at all. So your phone is ringing now. Everyone is here, especially when you have the open office space, and then you hear things like "Show the any phone, show the any phone." That song, you know, it's not not okay for the business place at all. And then when you're talking on the phone, there's your tone, you know, and then of course how you speak into the next person doesn't have to hear what you're saying. You're in the office, the way you're chewing gum. I did something on chewing gum and people were like, what's this one? Someone said, in my office, when somebody is chewing gum, you can hear from the next room. Is that bad? Okay. And then there's a way to punctuality is very key.
It's key.
Your dress code is very important when you're coming to work. Some people work in a business environment like the bank, the professional organization. Some, they are okay with corporate casuals, but irrespective of what your organization is asking for, you just have to ensure that you behave yourself a little better than is absolutely necessary. So your dress code, and these things are codes actually. The length of a man's tie speaks a lot about his personality. Your tie should dangle around your belt.
Right.
Belt, the buckle of your belt, nothing too short and nothing too long. Okay, the socks of the man should be in a professional setting. I'm not talking social.
Right.
Should be a continuation of your trouser into your shoes. That means the color of my trousers will be the color of my socks. Okay, for ladies, makeup. There's the workplace makeup,
and then the social makeup.
And the social makeup, the workplace jewelry and the social jewelry. Even the hairdo, wear and absorbed colors are not professional. So anything that makes you look tacky, revealings and all that, they are not for the workplace. And of course, there is the business email. How do you communicate? You shouldn't send a mail without a subject. And then even when you send that mail, you have no silly abbreviations.
Those things are deep.
Yes.
And just like you said, it's cost a lot of people, you know, to lose deals because you really could not decipher whether or not you were sending an official email or an official SMS.
Exactly.
We do a lot of abbreviations. We do a lot of... and then you also cannot differentiate whether or not you're communicating with an acquaintance or, you know, doing something official. And so a lot of people think that you're just being so hard on yourself. So here we are saying today that these things do matter.
They do matter.
They matter a lot, and they speak a lot about who you are and your personality. So again, let's go back to social etiquette, because we can't do without speaking about that and address the ladies now. There's a certain way you should handle your bags.
Yes.
So how best do you, you know, again, package yourself when you are outside?
First off, your bag should be neat.
Okay.
Sometimes you should have a bag. When you want to shop for your bag, you should search for a bag that has compartments. So my keys can be here, my wallet can be here. It's not poise, okay? Poise, that's a bit of elegance and confidence, okay, to unruffle your bag all the time when you're looking out for something. Okay. And then you get to a place, a meeting, you don't place your bag on the table. It's not acceptable, okay? And then how to carry your bag. I wish I had one here. You don't carry your bag this way, except of course you're going to Lagos Island Market when you're walking into a meeting. Okay,
so you should carry your bag how? That way.
You can have like halfway. This is good. And sometimes you can just hold on the bag like you're carrying
a briefcase.
A briefcase, exactly. And you see, these things are very important. Did you know that there is the result of a research from the prestigious Harvard University? Harvard remains one of the Ivy League universities. People spend millions of naira, thousands of dollars to attend Harvard. So I stumbled on that research that says that 85% of man's success in life can be attributed to his social skills, while the remaining 15% to his technical skills. What Harvard is saying? Harvard is saying that education is good. And learning a trade, Harvard recognizes that people make money that way too. But education is good. Your technical skill is good. But it only adds up to 15% of your success in life. The remaining 85%, now that will be your personal skills, your social skills. So some people call these soft skills, Some people call this interpersonal skills. Some people call this social graces, of which etiquette is like a foundation. So whether social etiquette, because you can be meeting the next big client in a social gathering, okay? So you don't say, I'll just leave my etiquette. When I get to work, I practice etiquette. So wherever you find yourself, it should just be a part of you. However, they say that education will get you to the door of success, but how fast you go in life and how far you go, now that depends on your personal skills.
Right.
This is why these things count.
And people use money to learn these things that we're talking about here, just like this. Joy asked something earlier, and I'd like to go back to that, and that's the tone, the way you speak to others. I remember at the beginning of this conversation, you said you must respect the other person. And so when you talk to other people, how important is it for you to be mindful also with the kind of language that you use with others, knowing full well that sometimes you also can genuinely be, or let me put it this way, your personality and the way you speak to others, how does it go in ensuring that it doesn't misinterpret sometimes what you mean, or what you the kind of a message you're sending across to others? For example, you know what you said earlier, you could actually be apologizing to somebody, you're genuinely remorseful, but your countenance just feels like you're just saying it. Exactly. But genuinely, it could just be a facade. It could just be you, and then genuinely you're sorry about what has happened, but others think, she's just not sorry. She's just trying to say that. So how important is it for you to marry your personality with your words and your tone oftentimes?
Your words, your tone, and your body language, they go together. And I started by saying etiquette is about considering the next person. So before you say something to that next person, you will think about it, that, okay, you need to have a time to think, to say, how do I communicate this better? How is this person going to receive this? Will this person get the message when I say it this way?
Okay.
So it just has to be, you have to plan whatever you have to say. And then we always teach that you work on your temperament, your anger. There's something called anger management, because most times when we talk in anger, the next person is not even getting what you're saying.
Right.
All right. The next person is not getting what you're saying. Like, let's say some people have a bit of conflict in the office, and somebody goes, Kemi, do you know you're very stupid for what you just did? I mean, you're really very stupid. Kemi has that sense to, the next thing is to retaliate. I don't want to be seen as a weak person. And then she goes, I'm stupid. You're very stupid as well. And then before you know it, all of those will cost a lot. But if somebody goes and says, I'm very upset about what you did, I'm not happy about it, and I think the next thing a normal person will do will be like, oh really, what did I do? And they go, you did this, and the person goes, I'm sorry, I didn't even mean it that way.
Right.
And most of the time, sometimes they didn't really mean it that way.
Okay.
But because you had gone, you know, in an offensive way, the person has to come back to you in a defensive way. Okay. So it's very important that we consider. Etiquette is about considering the next person, about kindness. Whether you want to say something to someone or not, you just consider how you say it and how the message will be passed properly. I was speaking to some people and I said, look, okay, for example, you have a driver, very naughty one. Okay, so
you can test your patience.
And that driver comes really, really late, and you don't like to get anywhere late. And then the next thing to be done, you don't patch that kind of thing, because it's affecting your own personality as well. So you want to give this man a 2 weeks suspension without pay. And then you say something like, Mr. David, you are very silly. In fact, by the time we stop you on this job and take it back by family, you know, just go with all those kind of things. The person's like, what did I do? Before you know it, they're talking about that. But when you just go and you hit the nail on the point, you break it down, this is what you have done, these are the consequences of what you have done, and this will be the repercussion. He gets it clearly.
Right.
And as a normal human being, he will not go back to repeating that unless, of course, there's
something else going on. Okay, Joy?
Okay, still about etiquette in the workplace. So how do you handle how do you maintain professionalism and courtesy in the midst of high pressure situations?
Professionalism and courtesy in the midst of high pressure. First of all, I always say to people, no anxiety, no nerves. Try to relax in every situation. And I think that's one helpful thing, because that will give you the ability to think. I always say think. Okay, somebody is speaking to you. don't be quick to wanting to respond. Speak. I mean, think. While the person is speaking to you, think about how to respond. So that calmness is actually what most of us really need in the professional world. And then, irrespective of the pressure, when someone is already calm, you know how to attend to it. You analyze what do I need to do. You don't rush. Elegant people don't rush, okay? Elegant people don't rush. You don't rush into any conversation. You don't rush into any action. You take your time. You maintain professionalism, and then you try to, there's this confidence that etiquette gives when you know the right things to do at the right time and how to say these things at the right time. It gives you that confidence, and that confidence gives you that calmness. Calmness breeds professionalism, and then courtesy happens naturally.
Okay, so is this to say that emotional intelligence has a lot to do with etiquette?
It does. It does. It does.
Right. Okay, so we've talked about table manners. Before, are there things that you see, especially when you go to a party, that you're like, oh God, what is this about that we do either consciously or unconsciously that should not be done?
Are you sure you want to talk about this?
Maybe briefly.
Okay. So even if we don't even go to the party now, I mean, there's a seminar and we have a plate of sweets and somebody comes and she knows, obviously, we have 10 people on this table and she packs all the sweets into a bag. That's a problem. Right. She's not considering the next person. The sweet has been put there to keep people alert, okay, at the time. So it's not, everything is not for the grab. So you get to parties and then you see people all dressed up. One thing we need to take away from here, you are invited for a wedding, you're invited for a birthday party, you go with a gift. You show up with a gift. So you see people all made up, the makeup, the beauty, the dress. At the end of the day, you go empty-handed.
You can't eat the food.
Okay, so that's that. And then they have things on the table. It's not for you to drop into your bag. That happens a lot. It does. Okay. And then somebody says, you're invited for this party. You should ask, should I come with a friend or should I come by myself? Right. And then when somebody sends an invitation card to you, RSVP. You have to do that. I will be showing up. I will not be coming. These are just little things.
But I mean, those that put the RSVP there, do they really understand why the RSVP there?
But do you know we're getting to that time that people actually understand now? So it will depend on the class of people. Yes, but honestly, because even if you pick up any ready-made IV from the store, you will still see RSVP and anybody can just, But then
because I mean, people are also now getting to that level where they send you an invite and they say kids are not allowed.
Exactly.
And so kids are not allowed. And so for such, I mean, you got an invite expressly stated, and you still go ahead to take your child. If you get bounced, I mean, they have a right to do that.
They have a right to do that, and they haven't done anything wrong.
Okay, because we take things personally a lot here. We have this entitlement mentality, and you think, why can't I take my child to this party?
The earlier we start doing things right, the better. Look, when you are in a place filled with people who lack etiquette and they have no knowledge about etiquette, well, maybe there is no problem. You begin to jeopardize opportunities when you get to a place and people have this eye for details. People know and understand the codes. They are called codes, okay? And people understand these codes, then you'll be having a problem. So it's just important. If you are thinking of taking your career to the next level, if you are thinking of mingling with, it's a global world now. You can be here in Nigeria, mingling with somebody, doing business with someone in China, doing business with someone in Dubai. It's very important that you just stick to these principles and navigate your ways.
Before we allow you go today, let's quickly address the ladies here. So I'm sure there are also bathroom etiquette, especially if you go to a public space where definitely you have other people who are also using the bathroom. So what are the basics that you must consider when you're using a public bathroom?
Like you said, consider. And if you notice, I've been going back and forth about considering other people. You must consider the next person coming in. So one thing that ladies do, they know these things, but I don't know why they still go. Some, not everyone. Right. So you get into that place, especially when you're in your period, you have to make sure that you look, you check to ensure that there is nothing
when you're living.
Yes, men hardly use tissue. When you get into the washroom and you see one or two things, I know someone who says she never uses the ladies' washroom. She would
Outside.
sneak herself into the male
Oh my
washroom.
God.
I know somebody who does that.
Oh,
I'm like,
wow.
why do you do this? Because the ladies are very dangerous. Okay, so it's very important that you know, it's hygiene. Hygiene is even part of etiquette, and hygiene is part of safety. And then you don't flush your sanitary in the toilet. They always have
A basket.
it's something you can make
Right.
use of. And then when you use the tissue, ensure that there's always issues when you go into the ladies' washroom, actually, but we can do better. Yes.
So children are better molders. You can actually,
easier.
And then when you drop this in them, they carry it all through. And so how important is it that we catch them young? Again, if parents do not know, what do they pass on to their children? So there are some parents who also do not know these basics. And so they also teach their children what they know. So how important is it that we also allow our children pick the good manners rather than the bad ones?
It's very important that you raise these children, because these children are yours and they are your future. It's very important that you teach the children little things. You may not know the codes of etiquette, how to sit down, how to carry your bag, how to eat, but our mothers did their best to teach us how to speak to people, how to greet people, how to walk into, how not to interrupt the conversation. So all of those things, as a mother, as a father, you must have this eye for details to raise your own child better. And honestly speaking, we see some gap, we see some bridge. Maybe some people think that they are, you know, they have money, so their children don't
necessarily need to grow up in that way.
Is wrong. That is wrong. Okay, that is wrong, because when we look at etiquette schools abroad, I apologize, I have to go back to that. Etiquette schools abroad are not cheap. They are not for everyone. They are for the royals, they are for the diplomats, and these are people who have the children attend etiquette schools from age 3 and above, where it's a thing of pride. So then when the children can say thank you, I'm sorry, when the children can greet, okay? And you see other people, they do things just anyhow. They have nothing, they feel they have nothing at stake, okay? So we bring that home to our people to say, let your children greet. Don't say, we have this thing to say, I want more bolo, they don't greet, you know, things like that. You're really, really messing up those children. But we do awesome things at schools. Like I mentioned earlier, we consult for over 250 schools and still counting.
Okay.
We work with children. And honestly speaking, we did a topic when we emphasized, well, thank you. And we told these children, I'm talking of a school in Ikorodu, and these children were saying, no, I can't say thank you to my housemaid. My mommy said she's there to do her job. Wow. What is that? Okay, so sometimes we do all of these teachings and our children go back home to remind their parents of what their parents taught them. That, so most of the time, they correct their parents. But basically, parents have to do their work.
Joy, do you have a final word before? Okay, so my final question to you today will be, are there positions you get to in life that you must get yourself into training such as yours? For example, maybe you are, I don't want to say maybe you are, I'll allow you to say that. So are there positions, especially for women, maybe top executive, are there places that you get to that it's a must, or you should get trainings, or you should get exposed to basic etiquette rules?
I would advise that you don't even wait to get to those positions, because by the time you get there, situations may just happen.
So you should get yourself prepared
for that time. Everyone should get themselves prepared for that time. But then you see people, maybe at the time that their husband gets an appointment, or they themselves got an appointment and they know they need to start relating with people, they immediately, honestly, you don't teach them. They look for the nearest finishing school to get things done, and then they do it codedly.
Why is it called a finishing school, though?
I finishing school because, you see, everything we do in the etiquette school, the university will not teach you that. The secondary school, except you are privileged to be in a school that they have that's
in their curriculum.
Exactly, except they have that in their curriculum. They don't teach you this. We go to uni and we just pass out and that's it. So the finishing school is what, you know, like I said, in a particular place in America, lack of table manners is a sign of incomplete education. So that finishing school is what polishes your rough edges and helps you put your best foot forward. It teaches you the protocol so that anywhere you find yourself, you know that saying, when you're in Rome, you behave like
a
you're
Roman.
So there are certain codes that you need to put in place wherever you go. You take it along with you. The finishing school polishes you up, and it helps you put your best foot forward wherever you find yourself.
Ooh.
And it's better to know it and not need it than to need it
and not know it. Okay. I'm sure that we will find time to bring you again to probably, and then we'll have a proper table set up here.
Honestly.
And then, because I think that the table manners issue is one thing that we need to go back to, just like you said. Not many people understand all of those cups. They have their different, the wine cup, the water cup. A lot of people cannot differentiate. And then some also wonder, how do you hold your cups? How do you hold your wine cups? So I think we'll have another session where we would have...
is when you think etiquette, think practical.
Right, so
yes,
where we have a
not
proper
just about
table set up with all of those things, and then you can identify some of those things. Thank you so much, KG Olutunji Olademeji, for coming on the program today. All right, that's the